Good luck.
Hello, Riga. How are you today? Okay, so let's go ahead. I come from Brno, from Czech Republic, and it's my pleasure to show you something we saw live, something we saw at or inside the networks of our customers. So my agenda is why do we do, what we found, and also some bonus. So please stay tuned. What we do is actually we try to analyze the network traffic. We use statistical analysis, machine learning, artificial intelligence from all what we see in the network. So we are currently using the mirroring ports, or we are tapping fibers to see all the packets, what happens on the wire or on the glass. We don't analyze network flows. We don't save full packet captures. So we are doing analysis. Why? We want to be effective, because threats create detectable traffic. If a threat is silent, it's no more a threat. And so we are able to catch unknown malware. We are able to increase network visibility, to be as fast as possible and as responsive to what we actually detect in the network. Because if the network is compromised, it's too late, but sometimes we can't prevent the unknown. So we have to deal with it as soon as possible, and therefore we need to see what's happening in the network. We combine the big data, so the business intelligence approach. We measure what happens in the network, we group it, summarize it, and try a little bit of machine learning to gain the information and to pull it over from the noise caused by the regular network traffic, because the threats are hiding in the regular traffic. And so we make the IT operations a little bit more secure and a little bit more reliable. The malware in the heart of network we saw is actually part from our customers' networks and examples from proof of concepts we do to prove our abilities. I prepared 6 cases selected by our analysts, and the first one was an instance of Lethic spambot. The device queried external servers for known server names for known to be infected. It tried to communicate to servers in Norway, which was an anomaly. The device didn't communicate before. And it remained silent for 2 hours once an antivirus scanner started to scan the device. So we tried to hide, and we tried to seek it. And after that, it resumed the communication on port 1123 with its command and control center. And it's a spam bot. So it actually started to communicate periodically to some mail server. And the port was 25 TCP, so SMTP actually. Which parts of our system actually triggered was the unsupervised learning, because it observed a high number of communication flows. There was a periodical communication anomaly to some part of the network. The network discovery informed us that a new service and a new host appeared. And also we use other things, like for example, IDS. We don't use IDS primarily, we use it as one of information resources. And so for example, the rule that internal devices should talk to internal DNS servers has been also triggered. This is what we saw on our screens, and with the highest severity, with number 7 of 10, we saw 4 indicators active, and actually the colors on the time scale show us what happened when. So we see the silence period here, and we can see also the communication targets. In the orange color, these are the number of targets the device tried to communicate, or the other devices. So what was the host which tried to reach the DNS Anubis? It was an internal Wi-Fi connected device, and it tried to talk to the Google DNS. In the detail, there is the name, so some relatively strange domain name. And it tried not only to talk with the DNS of Google, but also with some others DNS servers, like for example here manhoodmana.net was one of the questions which was sent to DigitalOcean. The command and control initial connect response was targeted at these hosts, and actually these command and control servers responded to the device, as we can see here. Last but not least, we saw the communication with some Russian server or Russian IP address, and the flows were which went to this address were also interesting. And then the alive client, which was talking to 5500, was trying to spread a network Trojan. Last but not least, the communication with the SMTP service was pretty periodical. In addition, we saw a port sweep-like behavior from this internal device to the network, and the network scan was like connecting to these network segment to these addresses. There was a lot of communication. One of those communication has been seen here. So it's a scan. We saw just the SYN packets, but no fin, no finish. And so we can say we saw a very nice attack. Another case was Eternal Blue. A device communicated with Tor and tried to communicate with the DNS tunnel. And it started opening 445, so SMB over TCP connections to multiple external hosts. And we detected also that it tried some exploit on hosts it succeeded to connect. So let me just go to the demo quickly. So now what we saw was the correlation about malware spreading, which is an event correlated from these two. We saw a policy violation going for the DNS server to this IP address. And we can see that it was somewhere in Moscow. And regarding this IP address, there is a lot of domains, there is a lot of files, and one of those files has been detected as Trojan or, for example, malware generic content. The Tor communication has been detected by the Tor IP address list, which is also consulted. The Tor border machines are detected, and it was pretty periodic again. And one of those was some IP address in the US. We got the content of the packet, and well, it's like human data commons. What is inside? There is also a lot of infected files. One of those is Trojan ransom Kerber1. So some ransomware actually is probably served by this. We can also consult Google. So going to any other of this list will reveal more about the attack. SMB port sweep has been detected. It was pretty persistent, targeting very long list of IP addresses. One of those was this address in China, and according to what we saw, the attack was successful. We saw an attempted administrator privilege gain on another destination, and from the network transport layer, we can see that there was TCP communication, both sides, and unfortunately, we didn't turn on the SMB parser. So what we can see here is just the command, not the content itself. Another case was a WannaCry. Well, it's a variant of the previous attack. What is different is that another internal host was immediately infected and started to communicate. And we saw this even before an IDS rule matched. So we saw just an unknown threat, an unknown malware, breaking out on one device in the internal network, and we saw that it immediately started spreading within the network without the actual knowledge of what is it for a malware. So this is what it looked like. Again, there was a port sweep on SMB, and it was also combined with a drop blacklist somewhere in the network and Eternal Blue, which is the actual report from the anonymized internal system we use for presentations. So this is what we actually saw there was a request for Microsoft server. We saw another SMB packets stream from the internal network, from one device in the internal network to another device. And it was successful, as I already said. Another case, SSH attack from the external network to the internal, which has been seen on the border router. There was a lot of communications. First, there was a sweep for TCP, and for the open port, there was a brute force attack later. So there was the port sweep, and there were the periodic brute force attacks. We can see there was pretty nice delay to hide this kind of attack from the radar. It came from North America to us, but the IP address is well known to the lists of bad peers. What we can see here more is that the attack actually tried to pass to internal network. So it has been forwarded somewhere from the outside to the internal network. The brute force attack was quite periodic, and the IDS said there is attempted administrator privilege gain with the help of libssh2, which we have pretty nice record here from the beginning of the flow. That was it for the SSH. What we can also observe is a device on internal network which periodically attempts to communicate with a known blacklisted IP address, a port 3033, and we don't know what is this for an attack. But anyway, we can see here repetitive connections, and that spam house says, okay, this IP address is on the blacklist. The details from the detection are leading us to digistudio.top, which is somewhere in Russia, and the protocol is UDP. There is a lot of traffic, and there is nothing to do else or better than to stop this traffic on the perimeter firewall, and also to get to this device and try to find the reason. Unfortunately, the device is not belonging to us. So we informed the owner, and now it's his or her turn. The device in question also tries to scan the ports periodically in the internal network, and it goes to external IP addresses of various hosts, which is also detected by our product. And for the port supply behavior, these are the numbers of targets in the yellow color. Pretty nice overview. And the last case was a document leakage. As I said, we are using statistical analysis. We are collecting various characteristics of communicating devices, subnetworks, and VLANs and services and whatever else you can find on a network and classify. So once upon a time, a device exhibited a relatively small amount of data exchanged to the network, relatively small amount of uploads. And there was a day it uploaded very huge number, a very huge amount of data, very big volume, and data at host outlier, which actually tells us from the Gaussian model that something is outside the normal or the usual observed behavior is happening. So let's go to the detail. And the detail is bound to some device on local network. It happened just once. And it actually uploaded 56 and more megabytes of data. What was inside? So it was 371 times more than usual from the model. Let's go to flows. And what we can see here, just the first is the HTTP to some German IP address. There is some others, and there is another flow to the same IP address with a huge upload, and it actually happened. It was a normal TCP connection. So, who's this guy, and what has been uploaded? So I got a post transaction posting a financial summary q1.pdf. It happens. So, investigating more, it's in Nuremberg, Bavaria, and who says it's Hetzner. And what's the IP address? There is a lot of domains, a lot of files. There are some red ones. So Tencent says it's some Trojan. But the others are fine with the file. It doesn't mean that they are fine. It may mean that they just got another version of the file when they asked for. Because it's quite usual way to hide malware. So another file coming from this address has been detected as Trojan. That's nice. So let's go ahead. What we can see normally in all our components of the detection is a lot of events, a lot of analytic outputs, and it looks like this. The most important, the tool itself, as you can see here, prefix status, is also monitoring itself. So we try to stress test it, and we can see that the stress test really led to some very big important message. The tool itself has problems. Take care about the tool. After you clean this situation, the tool will be working as usual. But anyway, there were some other messages too. And the bonus tales. An outer system of a ministry provided mailbox access to some Tor endpoints and for a server hosting super mámočky Nižněkamska. Watch the provider. It's Hetzner Online again. And during this 1 year attack, or 1 year course, more than 170 accounts were compromised and more than 7,000 documents were stolen. even the best tool can't give you the security if you don't use it correctly. And this actually happened in Czech Republic. It was not the only incident. Similar incident happened in the world, like, for example, multiple intrusions, leaking internal strategy documents, donor lists from political organizations. A campaign manager for a political organization used his or her own email account, her private account, and so he was prone to social engineering. Our finding is, do not trust your administrators, because if the administrator name is admin5 and it has a vague password, you can do nothing again. Really. So please don't use a simple to guess names for your accounts. And please do evaluate your operations data. So always watch your network, what is happening inside, using the right tools. And do not trust the administrator. And you gotta catch them all. My question to you, how many Pokemons did appear during my speech? 10? 10 in total. 10 in total? 8 different ones. 8 different ones? I can name them all. Oh, great! Any other answer? So, the correct answer is 10 appearances, 8 Pokemons in total. So, you got a prize. Please go to me and I will give it to you. Any questions? Yes, please. And by the way, the prize is a bottle of genuine Moravian plum brandy. So you will be a lucky guy this evening.
Can I ask two?
Yes.
One is, can GREYCORTEX handle encrypted traffic and inspect encrypted traffic even going outside the organization? And the second one, did you manage to actually stop the Eternal Blue exploit before it turned into a proper WannaCry infection?
Yes, so thank you. It's actually 2 questions. Yes, we are monitoring both inbound and outbound traffic. And the second answer is, unfortunately not. We are no intrusion prevention or intrusion protection service yet, because we are a little bit behind the real time at the moment by 2 minutes. So once we approach real time much closer, we can think about preventing the intrusions or preventing the exfiltrations. But at the moment, it would be relatively tricky to act as a IPS if we can react only after the breach happened. So we are honest. We don't want to say that we are doing something we are not capable of. Thank you for the question.
It's just that you said that you managed to detect it before the IDS picked it up. So I was just hoping that maybe that time gave you some kind of advance on acting and responding. But yes, thank you. You did answer my question.
Yeah, actually, we detected it. We didn't know how to call it because nobody gave a name to it. Yeah, thank you. Any other question, please? If not, last 2 slides. Here in Latvia too. And paldies para jūsu uzmanību.